What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Hot Mic here on the Outlaw Nation channel, brought to you by Above the Line, the fine people at AboveTheLine.com. Great articles, great reviews, great stuff going on here. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by the man over there, Jeff Sneider. How are you, Jeff?
I'm good, John. I'm sorry. Our own show was playing on my browser on Twitter, and so I was like, "What's happening here?"
What shirt you got? Is that a Modest Mouse? What is that shirt? What are you wearing there?
What shirt? You like that?
I like that shirt. It's good design. You know, you don't need to wear cool shirts, so I got to give you props when you do. Those are cool.
Pull it up because I figure we'll get some eyeballs on us this episode.
Nice. I like the shirt before the stains get on it. All right. Anyway, we're gonna get into so many things here today. We're going to talk about a Marvel stuff. Of course, the big news of Ike Perlmutter being let go from Marvel. Certainly a very combative, controversial executive that has been around and facilitated the sale of Marvel to Disney way back in 2009. So a lot to get into in the loss of him. Some more controversy surrounding the Victoria Alonso departure. Not sure if we're going to get into the Jonathan Major stuff. I feel like that's been talked about ad nauseum at this point until we get more updates. There are some big news dropping. Jeff's got some scoops and rumors as well. We've got some Clayface conversation with Mike Flanagan attached to all this kind of stuff as well. But Jeff's got some big news to be dropping, and certainly stuff with the Safdie brothers are coming up here, both good and bad, as we start the show. But just want to remind you all to please subscribe to the channel down below right now. Some of you are discovering our show for the first time as we're breaking these scoops, breaking these rumors. Welcome to all you Star Wars people who are discovering us for the first motherfucking time. Subscribe down below and hit that bell button so you see when we're dropping the hot mic. We're coming to you live for the second week in a row, at noon. Remember, the super chats and Streamlabs are open as well, so send in your Streamlabs now. It's pinned in the chats, in the description of the video, and it's right above Jeff's head. All right, Jeff, where are we going first?
We're going to the Safdie brothers.
All right.
Now, because not only did that story hit from Tatiana Siegel in Variety about Sebastian Bear-McClard, who is Emily Ratajkowski's ex-husband, which was a troubling story, but there's been a lot of casting stuff. You know, last week we put out the Gael Garcia Bernal thing. We didn't put it out. Somebody else put it out.
Yes, we talked about it. Yes.
Yeah, we mentioned it.
Yes.
And then I had gotten some tips after that report.
Okay.
And so I held them for a week, and then I took a shower this morning. I get out of the shower, I check my email, and we got scooped, Johnny. It happens. I mean, you can't hold these things for a week.
It's the game, man. It's the game.
And so I tip my hat to Deadline's Matt Grobar, because he scooped the news that Megan Thee Stallion is going to be a part of the Safdie brothers' next movie with Adam Sandler, which, as I think it was Adam or the Safdies who told Collider. It's set in the sports memorabilia world.
Yeah, right? I believe it was Adam. Yeah,
that's what we'd sort of lined up with what we'd heard. So the name. So here's how it went down, though. So it's like I got this tip last week, and they said, Jeff, Megan Thee Stallion and Benicio del Toro. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I then heard the same names from someone else. So those are the two names I was operating with all week. But then I'm like, but wait, is the Benicio del Toro role the same as Gael Garcia Bernal? Not that they can't have two Latino
of course not,
guys in there, but it seems like they are the type who might go in for the same role. So what I think happened there is that Benicio probably passed, that he did get the first. Right? He probably, if he's not in it, he passed, and Gael Garcia Bernal took that role.
Yeah.
The other part of the tip was that there was a huge male actor, a male star, who is going to be joining Sandler in the movie.
Okay.
And my source said, I can't give you the name. I can't do it.
You can't.
I was trying to get this name for the rest of the week, and I couldn't get it.
Okay.
And so when I tweeted this morning that I got scooped on this project, and someone figured out it was the Megan Thee Stallion story. That was going to be the headline this week, which is a pretty cool headline.
Agreed.
It felt bad for me, and they threw me a little bone. And so I have the name of the actor circling the Safdie brothers movie.
Okay, so in talks or looking at it or possibly
trending in the right direction. No deal yet.
Okay.
But sounds like he's going to do it.
Okay.
So before I tweet it, the exclusive here on the Hot Mic podcast is that two-time Oscar winner, Benjamin Affleck.
Wow.
Benjamin Affleck is circling the Safdie brothers' next movie with Adam Sandler.
Wow. Ben Affleck and Adam Sandler, sports memorabilia, Megan the Stallion, possibly Gael Garcia Bernal, possibly Benicio del Toro. That sounds like a fucking awesome cast and fitting into the world of sports memorabilia very believably, because Sandler and Affleck have been very clear about their connection to sports. I'm not sure what Megan's connection is or what the other two actors, what Gail or what Benicio will bring, but I like this combo for sure to be part of this. It kind of fits that independent feel as well that the Safdie brothers have done so well with all their films.
I think, again, these are the types of movies that Ben should be doing, these sort of, mid-budget movies for adults.
Yeah.
I think that Uncut Gems had a lot of fans within the industry. I think a lot of people were like, holy shit, like these guys took fucking Adam Sandler and totally transformed him from the way that we knew him. Not that Adam hasn't done good dramatic work in the past.
Right.
But they made him gritty. And I think Affleck likes that kind of kind of stuff. I don't know if this will be like a leading role or more of like a supporting role. That's sort of what I gathered is probably more of a supporting thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting and worth passing along. The problem here's the deal.
Okay.
Is that it may be a money situation, right? Because Netflix doesn't want to break the bank for a Safdie brothers crime movie or whatever. And Affleck, is certainly expensive. So that could be the deal breaker, but I've heard that he is engaging with Netflix and wants to do the movie if they can figure out a way to do it.
Come on, they got to do it, Ben. I mean, I agree with you. Dude, we're in the second or third rebirth of Ben Affleck. This is incredible to see him coming back yet again. Air is getting all kinds of phenomenal reviews. I'm seeing it next week. I can't wait to see it. And it's once again, he was on Jimmy Kimmel the other night. I saw him still doing the Dunkin' Donuts commercial at Super Bowl. Still, he has this thing that people just kind of naturally have seen him through the wars, and now they really do care about him, and they like him, and they want to see him in good projects like that. And it feels like Ben's meter now is heading towards acting rather than the big, superhero franchises or tentpole franchises or big epic films. He's more interested in being challenged as an actor. And I think that should be something that a lot of us should be praising and applauding, and going with the Safdies, like Pattinson did, like Sandler has done. Now Affleck, hopefully, is going to be a great place for him to be. And he'll be in good hands,
Well, that is the question.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about that now.
I mean, the Safdies. I don't mean, right. Yeah. Let's talk about it.
And so I reached out to Netflix when that Variety story broke, and I said, can you confirm that you are still, in fact, financing the Safdie brothers' next movie?
Right. Ooh.
They didn't answer. They didn't answer today either.
Interesting.
And so I thought that Megan Thee Stallion story, which I obviously was planning to do anyways, I thought that the timing of that story being in Deadline was interesting.
Yeah.
Coming a day after this report, right?
Right.
Like coincidental timing, although they are gearing up to start shooting this summer.
Yeah.
The report did not make them sound very good. Now you can play the whole how are they supposed to know? And they have to trust their producing partner, which is what Sebastian Bear-McClard was. He worked at their company, Alara Pictures.
Yeah.
And when they found out what had been going on, they promptly fired him mid last year.
Yeah, let's stop for a second. Just give a little background for people who may not be up on this. Sebastian Bear-McClard is who Jeff is referring to. He was a producer on the Safdie brothers films since they kind of got known, since Good Time on. He had reached out to a 17-year-old girl on Instagram, had brought her onto the set of Good Time, had promised that she'd be working with Robert Pattinson, but instead did not work with Robert Pattinson, was on set almost all day, then got called in to shoot essentially a nude scene with a guy who had just gotten out of prison. And this guy, apparently, according to this girl, her recounting of the story, wanted to essentially insert himself inside her as part of the realism of the scene. This really unsettled her, but yet she wasn't paid at all, and she kept she worked on the set, then dated Bear-McClard after this for a little while. Then while he was dating, he was married to Emily Ratajkowski, who, by the way, they got married after only 2 weeks of dating or whatever. He started another situation, supposedly reached out to a 15-year-old girl as well. So there's a lot here. And the Safdie brothers claim that as soon as they found out about this in 2022, which is last year, they cut ties with him. And A24 has also said that, this is all in process. And by the way, Emily Ratajkowski clearly filed for divorce. According to sources from her, this is not a surprise that he pulled this kind of stuff. So there's a lot of drama around this guy, and it's bleeding into A24, bleeding into the Safdie brothers. As A24 is celebrating everything everywhere all at once, they're also dealing with this a little bit as well. So go ahead, Jeff. Just want to give a little background.
I'm going to say something that will not be popular, but it should be noted.
Yeah.
The age of consent is 17 in New York.
In New York, yes.
Right. So bringing a 17-year-old actress on set and doing a nude scene is not illegal. By the way, nude scenes for minors are not illegal. I mean, look at, obviously the apt pupil was like a situation that came out of all that stuff, but it's not, illegal to have nude
kids
featuring minors as long as there's permission and everything.
Right. Yeah. You have to have people on set.
It's the manner in which it was done. Like, this girl is in the movie. I believe that she has a credit on the movie. She doesn't receive residuals. Because, like you said, she wasn't even paid for being there on the day. They gave her a pack of cigarettes or whatever.
Yeah.
But she's technically entitled to like residuals through SAG or whatever. And so it's just sort of like this. It's not a good look.
Yeah.
And you can argue that Josh and Benny should have known what was going on their sets and who they're directing on the day. Like,
that's what I was telling Jeff. How do you not know who the actress is that you're directing who's about to do a nude scene for you? Whether you use the footage or not, you have to know where the actress comes from, for God's sakes. You're not just throwing actors and go ahead and direct them. It's not how it works.
And these guys do work with a level of actor. Like you said, there was an actor who had recently gotten out of prison or whatever.
Yeah.
They strive for authenticity, and their movies are really gritty. And so they do work with these characters who maybe have these unsavory backgrounds.
Yeah.
I don't expect every director to know the name of every extra on set, right? But like if there's a young actress doing a nude scene, you'd think that they'd take her aside, make sure that she feels a little bit comfortable or whatever. I guess this was 100%. The age before intimacy coordinators were widespread. But it's just it's not a good story for certainly Sebastian. They don't look great in it either. And I hope that this young woman, gets the justice and the financial, rewards that she's entitled to.
Yeah, it feels like Bear-McClard essentially was a burgeoning Harvey Weinstein in the way he was approaching this stuff, which is unfortunate to see. But yes, and don't be surprised that this is also, look, these are young male filmmakers. They're edgy, they're gritty, they're playing within and outside the lines with some of the stuff that they're doing. Maybe they turned a blind eye because they didn't know they were going to be successful. They didn't know they were going to all these eyes on them. And maybe they're just young guys and got in a situation where they didn't speak up and they didn't say more about it and were just caught up being dudes. And that's no excuse. I'm saying that that's a mistake and that needs to be addressed earlier and earlier in this business. And certainly it's not the first time a producer has used a young woman, has used their status or their clout to bring a young woman on set or have sex with a young woman. And all that bullshit needs to stop. So hopefully at some point there start to be real penalties for this kind of stuff being in the film industry, because too many women have been abused by men like this for decades.
Right. I mean, you can totally see how he'd be like, oh yeah, I'm making this movie with Robert Pattinson. Yeah, come down to the set. I'll get you a scene. Like, and she thinks she's going to be there with Robert Pattinson, and that's just not how it winds up. So a troubling situation, and great reporting by Tatiana Siegel on that one.
And by the way, big shout out to Tatiana Siegel as well. Great interview today with Rosie Perez. If you guys haven't read it, I tweeted it out just about 30 minutes ago. Fantastic interview exploring her experiences as a Latina actress, talking about Spike Lee, talking about her work in Fearless, which people should see, talking about all the stuff she went through, and hinting at a decades-long feud with Jennifer Lopez, which I did not know about. So, Latinas are going to battle sometimes, but a fantastic interview that you all should totally read to get enlightened about what the experience is like for a Latina actress like her. Yep.
But yeah, I feel like it's a gray area, right? Because sexual assault is illegal, sexual harassment is illegal, and then there's this sexual misconduct umbrella term that we just throw at things that are like, this is a shady situation. I'm not sure if this was illegal or whatever, but something smells fishy.
Yeah.
And so, again, this guy was married to one of the most beautiful women in the world. What a bonehead.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. But I mean, after 2 weeks, her marrying him, I mean, I think the bonehead can be spread over both of them, to be honest with you. It's not that mean she deserved like what he did, but like, come on, you marry someone after 2 weeks, you got to have your head examined. All right. Where should we move on to next? Want to get into the Ike Perlmutter stuff, or do you want to answer some?
Let's do a whole Marvel stuff. Let's do Ike, Victoria, a whole bunch of rumors I've heard about stuff.
Okay. All right, we're jumping into Marvel now. Ike Perlmutter was fired or laid off, as they like to say nicely here, from Disney. For those of you who don't know, and maybe some of you don't know, Perlmutter was very legendary for initially facilitating the sale of Marvel to Disney. He was executive there at Marvel and moved it over to Disney. It was a $4 billion deal. People don't talk about that. Like Star Wars was like $4 billion, but Marvel was sold for $4 billion at the time. So clearly they felt that there was a lot of promise here. And this is part of the layoffs that Disney has done here. They eliminated 7,000 jobs. They're going to be doing it over 3 waves here, about 4% of its global total here. But Ike Perlmutter certainly had a terrible reputation over the years in terms of trying to stop diversity. There were some emails that were leaked, I think from 2014, 2015, where he didn't want Black Panther or Captain Marvel to happen. And certainly his political leanings rubbed up against Bob Iger. He voted for Trump twice, said we'll vote for Trump again if he runs. Iger is a Democrat, so there were issues there. But representation was really the big thing. And then him and Kevin Feige apparently battled quite a number of times. He wanted Feige to be fired for some of the things that he was doing, and then tried to put his own person on the board recently when there was all that drama around Bob Chapek, to kind of solidify his stance on the board and power on the board. But that was shut down, and then Iger was brought back. But in 2015, he was removed almost completely off the films, and they tossed him licensing shit and stuff to do with the parks that was way less, just to keep him a part of the mix, but now officially out. So what do you think about this, Jeff? And he wasn't the only one. Rob Steffens, co-president of Marvel Entertainment, was also laid off, and John Turretson, who was the chief counsel for the division. So what are your thoughts on Ike Perlmutter?
I mean, there's 7,000 people who are being let go from Disney, and it's not all like the people in the Goofy costume at Disney World, right? Like,
right.
If you want to save real money, you got to clear out some of the executive ranks, and it was certainly a high past time for Ike Perlmutter. This guy was like a real life Bond villain, right? Yeah. Just like you can imagine him like stroking a cat in some sort of evil lair, plotting for ways to like get revenge on Kevin Feige and the empire that he's built, which has overshadowed Ike's work at the company.
Yes. And that's what it is. Ego, man. Yeah. 100%.
It's it is much like high school. And that's why you try to get Kevin fired, because you identify him early on as the real threat to your power. Right.
As Bob Chapek did, getting what's his face fired underneath him, thinking he was coming for his job. Yeah.
So, I don't know what this means for Marvel Comics. There's been some speculation, like, does Marvel outsource the comic stuff to third-party things? Like, is that just not something that they want on their balance sheet or whatever? I don't know what I'm not well-versed enough in the comics industry to know what this means for Marvel Comics, but it seems like a good thing. I mean, it can only be a good thing, and I think it balances the sort of bad PR. Maybe it's not a pure and total balance, but it balances some of the bad PR that they had coming with Victoria Alonso and her exit, which we'll discuss further.
Yeah.
But everybody was up in arms about that. But then, over here we got rid of Ike too. Yay! So everybody's happy again. A
little more of a balance, that's for sure. Yeah. Marvel Entertainment, which is what he was in charge of, will now be, which was a small division, by the way. It wasn't a big division here that was centered on consumer products and run separately from Marvel Studios. It is now going to be folded into the larger Disney business units, so other executives will be in charge of this whole situation. Just to give you a quick little background, and I'm getting this from The Verge about Perlmutter. We talked about the set of leaked emails where he didn't want any diversity, and Feige expressed constant problems with Perlmutter trying to get over the roadblocks. But according to other investigations with Perlmutter, he apparently tried to bribe a New York police officer to expedite the process of renewing his gun license. He supposedly tried to influence the Department of Veteran Affairs using his connection to Donald Trump's golf course, and what they describe a White Lotus-esque legal dispute involving tennis courts, stolen DNA, and hate email, not to mention the proxy fight that he tried to do here recently on the board. So a guy with a litany of privileged attempts to get his ass everything he wants, no matter what the rules and laws are. So I'm sure Marvel is 100% happy to move him out of the way and all the drama surrounding him. But as you said, we should move to the Victoria Alonso thing, unless you got more to say on Perlmutter, Jeff.
No, I don't have more to say on Perlmutter. No.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move to Victoria Alonso here. So now more drama around this. We've been monitoring the story for a couple weeks, Jeff. Now the new allegations are that she made the movie that she made, Argentina 1985, without Disney's permission, promoted it on Marvel press conferences and press junkets, and told that she shouldn't do that anymore. And apparently she's pushing back with her lawyer saying, no, they're letting me go because it was outspoken LGBTQ person. So what are your thoughts on all of this, Jeff, as this gets more and more tangled?
Well, geez, I've heard a lot more. So yeah,
okay,
obviously they're saying, well, it's a contractual breach, over Argentina 1985. That seems very petty and minor. Yeah, for someone of 17 years, like if it was like a big blockbuster at another company that's like competing with Marvel movies, like that might be an issue. But a foreign movie that like half the Oscar voters, if you were to lay out 3 images from Argentina 1985, probably wouldn't even be able to identify them. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Good point.
I think it really came down to they need some kind of a scapegoat, some sort of sacrificial lamb to serve up to the vendors who were just ultimately so unhappy with the way things are at Marvel and the way things have been. So I've got a little bit of stuff here.
Yeah, please.
One VFX, worker basically gave me like a quote.
Okay.
And some of the stuff is stuff that I tried to report for the Ankler late last year.
Okay.
And they just didn't run that thing. But basically, they say like Victoria Alonso is the perfect example of woke capitalism. She publicly beats the drum of identity politics. She makes a big deal about advocating for the rights of women and minorities. Right. Then she turns around and treats all the people who work for her like garbage. There are, and this much I know is like very much true. I have done some research on this. There are VFX artists in India who skip meals because they aren't paid overtime for working late nights and weekends on Hollywood blockbusters.
Wow.
They can't just get up and walk away either and go to the next VFX house because the contracts are so onerous that in some cases they actually have to pay back a portion of their salary just to end their contracts with the VFX houses. And that's why every VFX house wants to be in India. Okay? If you look and see, all these places are opening up VFX outposts in India.
Yeah.
Because the workers have very few rights compared to Western countries, and it keeps the poverty wages from increasing.
Yeah.
So think about this the next time you hear a filmmaker advocating for some humanitarian cause, right? They're all out there beating the drum for their causes when they know full well that there are people in India who can barely afford to feed their families because they have to work 80-hour weeks, on the VFX for this Marvel movie because they tore up the third act at the last second. Right. So, that came from one of them. Listen, I don't think that I think that she'd been bristling working with Kevin for a while. They hadn't quite gotten along, as evidenced by him not standing up for her, because I think he absolutely could have thrown himself in front of her and taken a bullet or whatever, particularly over such a minor issue. I think it comes down to this word, like, this has all been insane. We're sorry. We are going to slow things down. But okay, all right, hold on. I heard something about the blacklist. I did hear a story. Hold on. Let me bring it up in my text. The story, right? Because Chris Lee has said that she's actually blacklisted people and companies, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'd heard that on one story from one source that Victoria Alonso had a very unpleasant phone call with one VFX house, and I think it was Method, which is now known as Frame Store.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take this as gospel.
Right.
And so they thought that the call was over, the Frame Store execs, and they were bad mouthing her, and she was still on the call. And so that's what I heard got them sort of blacklisted, which I feel like is just sort of natural business behavior. You know, if you were on any call and getting bowed and mouthed on your side and you accidentally heard it, you'd be like, well, why am I working with these people, right? You know, I do think that there are, and it's almost the same way with a small site like me fighting to get paid when the studios buy FYC ads. It's like, hey, can you pay us? Can you pay us? Can you pay us? And they're like, we'll pay you when we're ready. Like, don't worry, you'll get your money. Go away. I think it's when these VFX workers sort of push back on Victoria and be like, hey, we can't deliver this in time, or we need more manpower. We, you know, whatever it is. Yeah. And they're like, listen, you're either going to do it or I'm going to find somebody else who does it. Right. And so that's where there's a disconnect, and Marvel is developing a poor reputation within the industry.
Yeah, but also, you know, I'm not trying to excuse Victoria here, but there are deadlines to meet, and she's got bosses who are on her about meeting these deadlines. Then that just trickles down, doesn't it? She has to do whatever she can do to get these people to do the job. And look, there are many executives who have yelled at production houses, yelled at VFX houses, been uber dicks, who have survived for years in the industry. I do think, although the complaints may be valid, and certainly I'm leaning towards the fact that they are valid, and I say that as a Latino, I want to support Latinas in this position or whatever, but you got to deal with the reality. And if there is that kind of stuff, totally understood. That being said, I also think she is being made the sacrificial lamb because these right-wing fans that go nuts and have these YouTube channels have created hatred towards anything that they deem to be woke. They can't define it, but they sure as fuck have an issue with it when they see it, like, oh, a woman lead or a woman of color lead, or you're changing this or you're changing that, or you're trying to, where's my straight white male lead? God, I need more of these. You know, it's that kind of nonsense and crybaby bullshit that is maybe what Iger and Disney are like. We need to lean a little more right here and just remove the person who has been the symbolism of that out of the way, and maybe we'll get these fans back, get our bottom line, get a little higher. And look, Iger being a Democrat or whatever has nothing to do with the realistic nature of business. It's business, you know.
I think that Marvel bit off more than the VFX community could feasibly chew. Basically what it is.
Yeah.
And she's the taskmaster, right? She's the one who has to keep everybody in line. That incident with the phone call took place on Black Panther on the original. So it was back in 2017-18. And I'm told that once they were blacklisted, they started losing work, Method/Frame Store. They actually pushed out the producers who, they'd been working with or whatever in order to gain her favor back. I think a lot of it is that she was a brand.
Yes.
A brand within a brand, right?
Yep.
And no one can be, like the brand shouldn't have to compete internally. There was a feeling that, like right now she's saying, oh, I was so overworked, basically, is the story, right? It's I had to do movies and TV shows and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But here she is with two side hustles, right? In producing Argentina 1985 and writing a memoir. Yeah. So it's like you can't have it both ways. You're either overworked or, you have plenty of time to do two other jobs, basically.
Right. That's fair. Yeah.
I mean, you're not supposed to know who the suits are.
Right.
And I think that is sort of part of the problem. It's and that's a widespread problem throughout Hollywood. That's not just Disney or Marvel. Like that's Zoma St. John at Netflix making a brand out of herself, whatever. So yeah, that was sort of what I had on Victoria, but we can get to the fun stuff now.
Yeah, let's get to the fun stuff here. Oh no, actually, you know what? Let's take a quick break because we're at the 30-minute mark, and then we'll jump into the fun stuff here right after this. All right, as we wrapped up the executives talk about Marvel. Let's get into some of the stuff that is going down with their movies and their upcoming projects. Jeff, what do you got?
Well, first of all, and I had with regards to Victoria Alonso, I had heard that Jen Underdahl is a potential replacement. She's been rumored. She's one of the other people who'll be picking up the slack in the
Gotcha. Okay.
Geez, Marvel stuff. Okay.
You brought this up. Do you want to?
No, I'm like, what do we got here? So, Captain America: New World Order. There's a lot of action going around this one.
Yeah.
I've heard, and I don't know what's out there. I don't know what's news. I don't know what's an exclusive.
Well, Liv Tyler coming back is news.
Liv Tyler, right? That came out. What was there? Something else? Was there another big piece of thing?
Well, just that Tim Blake Nelson coming back as the leader, but Liv Tyler coming back. A lot of people speculating this could be Red Hulk or Red She-Hulk coming into the Hulk. So
I'm told that Red Hulk is in the movie.
Is in the Red Hulk or Red She-Hulk? There's two different Red Hulk. Okay,
I've heard Red Hulk.
That means Harrison Ford will become Red Hulk. Okay.
I've heard Red Hulk is in the movie.
Okay.
I've heard that Val, right? That's Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, Valentina. Yes.
I've heard that she's in the movie.
In Thunderbolts?
No, in New World Order.
Oh, okay.
I've heard that she's in Captain America, working along 5 other villains to form the group, the Serpent Society.
Oh, yes, that is the group that she does form as Lady Hydra. So
and their main mission is to obtain a special metal that is not vibranium.
Ooh, another metal.
Well, that is, and the other thing that I think I'd heard on Captain America: New World Order. So in addition to Red Hulk and Julia Louis-Dreyfus and the Serpent Society, is that it might have a tie or two to the X-Men.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Other Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I think the big thing that we have to talk about is Jonathan Majors.
Yes. Certainly the accusations over the weekend. I talked about it on The Nation on Monday and talked about it again with the Geek Buddies, but so far there hasn't been much else that I've seen. What are you hearing? Because he was charged. They did not drop the charges. He was charged. So do you hear that this is going forward? This is real. This is happening?
Did you see the text that his team released?
No, I did not. What did it say?
I mean, they were like texts from his accuser designed to make him look innocent. I'm not sure that they necessarily helped.
Okay.
I mean, the bottom line is that there were marks on her neck and the back of her head, right? Isn't that not the bottom line? Like, how did those marks get there? Unless he struck her.
Let me read the text real quick. She says, I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. Read the paper they gave me about strangulation. I said point blank, this did not occur. It should be removed immediately. Also said the origin of the call was with me collapsing and passing out and your worry as my partner due to our communication prior out of care. The second text read simply, I love you. So
it's not good. I mean, this is like classic, like domestic abuse language. Like it's my fault for trying to get the phone out of your hands. Like,
right. I fell into the door. Yeah, it was my fault. Yeah, you
called 911. You're the hero because you cared about me when I fell. When I passed. I mean, it's just.
Yeah.
I don't know. And again, it's all this other stuff too that has come out about Jonathan online.
Yeah.
People from his past and Yale and Juilliard or whatever calling him a sociopath. Some very scary stuff. What I have heard in relation to that whole mischigas right now, obviously it's an ongoing legal situation that continues to play out. I've heard that Marvel hasn't made any decisions regarding Jonathan Majors, but they have either met with or spoken to his agent to discuss potential options going forward.
Interesting.
I'm told that he has a small role in Loki season 2.
Yeah.
Which is coming
teased at the end of Ant-Man. Yeah.
Right. I heard he has a small role in Loki season 2, and that he may also have been part of the plan for Moon Knight season 2.
Oh shit.
Again, with when I say part of the plan with Marvel, that could be like a 1-scene fucking cameo and something. Who knows? Right. So that's sort of what I had heard as far as the Jonathan Majors of it all go.
Wow.
Goes.
Okay.
What's
your feeling though? Do you think? Because the lawyer keeps saying this is all going to exonerate him, but it hasn't. The texts have clearly not been received well. If this video comes out and it's a bit questionable, then I mean, at that point, Marvel has to recast, right? I know the Ezra Miller stuff, and people want to say it's a racism thing because they're white.
The movie's in the can,
yeah,
right?
the movie's in the can. Movie's coming out. There's nothing you can do about it. And it's and he's been, they've been accepting responsibility, pled guilty, making deals to all this kind of stuff. This is more current, and it's got nothing to do with race, in my opinion. I think it's more a matter of just the severity of it all. Yeah.
No, it has nothing to do with that. It's sad because this guy really is like the top rising star in Hollywood, and I don't know if. First of all, we don't know what's going to happen with him. If he does get recast, and I don't know necessarily that like some white actor wouldn't have had to suffer the same consequences or whatever if that's ends up being the case.
No, they'll go black. They'll go with a black actor. There's no way they won't go with a black actor. I don't think they would. No.
I'm saying if it was a white actor though, and
right, gotcha.
Who got himself into this kind of trouble.
Sure. I mean, if Chris Evans had done this, they'd be looking at recasting him as Captain America for God's sake. Yeah.
The other Deadpool. So the other stuff with Marvel. There was the story this week about Matthew Macfadyen joining Deadpool 3.
Yes, Deadpool 3. Yes.
A role is being kept under wraps. I mean, he could potentially be a TVA agent.
Ooh, you mentioned last week that Deadpool 3, according to your sources, Deadpool would going up.
I think everybody's coming back for this movie. I think it's one of those. I feel like Domino, because Zazie Beetz has said, I plead the fifth on coming back. Josh Brolin. I think you're going to see Domino and Cable and all these folks back, most likely.
Yeah. Okay. I like
that. There was something on Wonder Man.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of talk about like this older, an older actor who's going to be Wonder Man's agent in the movie.
Yeah.
Something like that. And I think his name has been rumored, but I think it is in fact Ed Harris.
Wow.
I think Ed Harris is going to be in Wonder Man as an agent / possible villain.
Ooh, interesting. Okay. All right. I like that.
Don't be surprised if he joins the MCU. Someone said, all right, there was the new Thunderbolts writer. They brought in the Beef creator, right?
Yes. This is happening. Oh, shit. Where is it? I know I had it here somewhere. Anyway, it's creator Lee Sung-jin is coming in to rewrite the Thunderbolts. That's what he said. I am rewriting Thunderbolts here. And he's working with Jake Schreier, who was the director there and is the director of this film. Right. So, interesting.
I heard that they scrapped the other guy's draft. And that one of the problems with that Thunderbolts draft or whatever was that it was like, it had a similar problem that Suicide Squad had, the David Ayer one, where it was too focused on the Black Widow characters who were going to be Thunderbolts, and it wasn't equal enough for like the team. It just very much emphasized the characters that we already knew.
Okay.
So anyways, they got rid of was it Eric Pearson?
Yes, was the writer.
Got rid of that draft. They're bringing in Lee, Stephen Yen. Right, we know he's playing Sentry, right? The bad guy.
Well, that's what you've said, but we haven't officially confirmed it anywhere yet. But
I think that's what I have on the Marvel stuff. There's one other quote I wanted to read. About the Victoria Alonso stuff. This was from an account at Tom Williams, Tom with a T.
Okay.
The tweet itself only did modest numbers, but basically when Victoria's, when all these rumors were flying around last week, this guy who has worked on numerous Marvel movies, if you look at his credits as like a stunt coordinator and stuff, he said, I saw this firsthand, Victoria's bad behavior as she blacklisted my wife out of the VFX industry. She's a horrible person who deserves nothing but disdain, in my opinion. Wow. People are now putting their names on some of these things. So we'll see. I should caution. See, my fucking phone died. Damn it.
Yeah. Why aren't you juicing that thing up the whole time? What is wrong with you?
I know. I'm a disaster.
I have 5 plugs in this house. My phone is never out of juice.
So I should caution now. One of my the person who gave me that original tip on the Safdie movie and having like a big A-list star, right? They didn't tell me the Affleck part of it. I got Affleck from somebody else.
Okay.
And when I went back to the original tipster, they said that's not the name that they heard. So the original tipsters heard another A-list name circling the Safdie brothers movie.
Okay.
This other source, who I also very much trust, says that either that A-list name is Affleck or there's another A-lister in the movie.
Okay.
Just an interesting discrepancy. I was surprised to hear during the show from the original source saying that wasn't who they heard. But
well, thanks for watching original source.
Yes, still a very good source who did.
All right, well, let's hit some of these super chats at Streamlabs, Jeff. People have been sending in a lot of stuff here, so let's hit them and answer them.
Questions.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra Gorman, for sending in some support. Really appreciate that. You can always attach text to your support, so thank you, Sandra. Owen says, maybe I'm toxic, but I like that James Gunn puts down reports by a certain East Coast reporter. She says some things that are so outlandish, and it seems she thinks she's more important than the industry she reports on. I imagine you're talking about Grace Randolph there, Owen. I'm not getting involved in any of that. Grace has been doing it for a very long time. So if she's got information or if she's framing things in a certain way, I saw the back and forth with her and Gunn about Logan Lerman, and Gunn saying, I don't know who this is, which caused people to grandstand about their incredible knowledge of Logan.
I did not know who Logan Lerman is, James Gunn. Come on.
I mean, but I think it's okay to not know who Logan Lerman is, for fuck's sake. He hasn't been the
Or was he putting us all on? If she had said, I heard it's Brad Pitt, and James Gunn had said, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, right. It's a different conversation. But Logan Lerman, I think, can slip through the cracks. Peter says James Gunn was right when he said superhero movies need to have finished scripts. All these rewrites affect these movies and shows more than anything. Jeff?
That's 100% right. I mean, again, all these release dates are set years in advance, right? And so they're just barreling towards the end of this tunnel. But it's like, well, wait a second. Is the script done? Are we ready? That's what these articles about the VFX stuff have been getting at, is that Marvel has this propensity. It's a well-known reputation for just ripping up the third act.
Yeah. At
the last second. And now they're a month away from release and they have to scramble.
Yeah.
As far as the Logan Lerman, James Gunn stuff, though. Okay. So I do think it's early. Yeah. For any name to have emerged. Do I believe James when he said I haven't met with anybody? I don't know. He's taking general meetings up there just to hey, you could be a superhero. You could be a superhero. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me. Do I think that he's actively casting right now? No. Yeah. Does Logan? I could see Logan Lerman just because he got jacked for that Hunters season 2. He really went from looking like a boy to looking like a man. But he's also very short. Yeah. And I do think that Superman's going to be in his 30s. I think that all the art that James Gunn keeps posting is of a bigger, manlier sort of Superman. He keeps calling him a galoot, right?
Yeah, he does, which really bothers me.
Farm boy. Logan Lerman doesn't give off the farm boy thing, which really is the number one word that I come back to in any discussion of Superman casting. Yeah. They keep calling him this big galoot. So that is interesting.
That's Reacher. When I think of galoot, that's Reacher, for God's sakes.
Right. Who wouldn't be a bad choice. I think, he might be a little too big.
I like him for Lex Luthor. I think he'd be great. Shave the head, and he'd be intimidating as fuck Lex Luthor, man. I like it. Don't give me that fucking Jesse Eisenberg. No offense. Goopy G says, any validity to those Heat 2 rumors, Jeff? Are you hearing rumors that Heat 2 might be happening?
Austin Butler's in every rumor these days, right? Austin Butler's Superman. Austin Butler is Chris Saherlis. I mean, no one has bought Michael Mann's last movie. I mean, no one has bought Ferrari yet.
Good point.
So, let's wait to see, and because that's an expensive movie. That's a $75 or $90 million movie.
Yeah.
Who wants to take that on?
Just following up here, Miguel Zane says, any news on Mann's Heat /prequels? They have to make 2 movies for this, right? Not one with 2 characters who haven't met. I asked because I just saw Thief. By the way, Thief, fantastic 1980s film with James Caan, Tuesday Weld. You all need to watch that if you really want to enjoy the beginnings of Michael Mann and what was coming, man.
I mean, Warner Brothers owns the rights to Heat, doesn't it? I don't think that Michael Mann owns the rights himself. So I don't think he can just do it. I'm sure Warner, like, this movie has to have performed super well on home video for Warner Brothers, even though it didn't make a ton box office wise. It's been a very, very steady performer for them over the decades. I wouldn't be surprised if they were going to revisit it, but they'd have to do so at a responsible number. I just don't know how real it is yet. I feel like these Heat 2 rumors have sort of come out of nowhere, and it's nothing that I'm really hearing from like the industry that it's heating up at Warner Brothers.
I don't think. I don't know if there's a place for it. Depends, man. Garth McMurray says, "Love Demetrius Gross as Grim Reaper and Wonder Man." Okay, we'll see down the road if that happens and who might be playing that. So,
Garth, hope you're feeling all right, buddy.
Yeah, is he struggling again? Garth?
Garth, it's a lifelong struggle for Garth. That's all right. We're with him every step of the way, buddy.
Do you need me to rub my balls on your face again, Garth? Is that going to help you? Let me know. Goopy G says, curiosity I have regarding sources. Aren't sources for scoops risking their jobs by providing info to journalists? If so, why do so for no pay? It's a good question, Jeff. How do you answer that for someone who's maybe looking at your sources or questioning the sources? Which a lot of Star Wars people did last week in their passive-aggressive tweets. Maybe research something before you post stuff about this without knowing, especially when we get more views, we have more following, and Jeff has been in this business for a couple of decades now, and you just started a YouTube channel. There are two differences.
Someone in the comment section points out that World of Real reported Timothée Chalamet was being eyed for the Safdie brothers movie. I mean, he does spend a lot of time with them. That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. But what would surprise, and maybe that's the name who my original tipster had heard, but I don't see how the other source could confuse Affleck and Chalamet. Like, they're going out for different roles.
Yeah, two completely different things.
So like, if Affleck is engaging in doing the movie, then that would have to be a separate thing from Timmy.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah, like there's no way that those guys are playing the same role in any world.
Answer the sources question here, Jeff.
Sorry, are sources for scoops risking their jobs by providing info? Depends. I mean, first of all, if you're the head of a management company, or who's going to fire you? Right. Sometimes, most times sources are trying to curry favor with big reporters, that when it's time for them to have a story that's planted, the reporter will take care of them, right?
Yeah.
The scoops that I've been reporting on this podcast for the last few months haven't, so much come from agents and managers. A lot of it's been, tipsters. It's been fans who just want to see the underdog and someone who has some credibility in the industry. Maybe, I may not have 100% track record. I don't think that anybody necessarily does, but I have some credibility. And so, they trust me to deliver the message sometimes, or they just want to see us get a win over the trades, who just get everything handed to them, not on a silver platter, because I know how hard, my contemporaries work. And, but, a lot of it is just press releases that it's like, who are we going to send this to? Deadline or Verizon?
Yeah, and real quick, if I could speak for Jeff a little bit, having worked with Jeff at Collider, Jeff sources these out. He doesn't just take one and run with it. He waits to see if a person is correct when they're becoming a new source for Jeff. And if those things come correct and there's a pattern, then it becomes a trusted source of Jeff's. And I think when people are becoming sources, they know they've got to prove their mettle to these people. And I think it's not about pay for them. It's more a satisfaction that the information they're getting is being put out there. And people's reaction to it is sometimes payment enough for a lot of sources.
The stuff that I hear too, right? They're like, "Hey, what are you hearing out there? What'd you think of this? What'd you think of that?" Some of these people are people who I don't even know who they are. I don't even know who they work, where they work. They're just screen names who I trust. And when they message, I know I can take it to the bank because this person has been right before. Yeah, they could suddenly, they sabotaged me, right? And been like, well, I gave him all this stuff that was right for years, and now he'll print anything I say, and now here's a bunch of crap. They could do that, but I just don't. It's not like the reporters at the trades are paying sources either.
Yeah, right.
I think it's just fun to be part of the whispered game and to be able to control the flow of news, to be able to say, I want this out there today, I want to see what the reaction is to this.
Yeah, fair point. Jay West says, could Ike Perlmutter make his way to DC? I don't think so at his advanced age. I mean, look, David Zaslav, probably would be okay with another Trump supporter being on board, but he's too old, I don't think, Jeff, right?
Ike Perlmutter is a startup guy now. Like, I don't think any reasonably established company would hire him.
Yeah.
But if you were like a startup trying to make a name for yourself, yeah, a hire like Ike Perlmutter would get you some headlines and some attention and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think these places that are up and running and at least know what they're doing, I don't think that they would hire Ike Perlmutter.
Maybe I should hire Ike for the Outlaw Nation. My Comic Planet says those texts to Jonathan Majors read like someone who's scared of him. The apology, blaming herself. That's literally how victims act in those situations. Also, that guy on Twitter responded.
Which guy?
I don't know who he's referencing. I don't know what he means. What you got to give a little more background on that one there, my Comic Planet.
Yeah, just hit the comment section, Comic Planet, because I'm not sure which guy on Twitter you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, like I said, just reading those texts, it was not as exonerating as I think that Major's lawyer wanted it to be.
Yeah, how can you be so off base about these kinds of things? Talk to a woman first and go like, does this look like something that looks good for him? Please. Garth validating that my balls are magical. Thank you, Garth. I appreciate that. Wiley Todd
was boring as hell. To block this Dyna. I'm kidding. The Dyna guy. What are you talking about?
Wiley says support for Boy Rocha and Jeff. You're welcome there, Wiley.
Todd.
Thank you. Good to see you. Jay West saying, John, if someone offered you $300 million for Jeff to sit through all the Star Wars movies in one seating, do you think Jeff would make it through? Are you kidding? I would stick large spikes through his thighs to make sure he never left the chair for $300 million, for God's sakes. Jeff?
How many movies are we talking? That's
nine.
Plus Solo and Rogue One?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess 11 if you're looking at those. That's true.
Any more? Yeah, 11 movies I could do.
There is a Clone Wars movie, so you might go to 12. You might go to 12.
That's where I tap out.
300 million. All right, we'll keep tabs on the other who was referencing on Twitter. Here are the Streamlabs. Let's hit those real quick. Andrew Russell says, finally able to catch an episode live, just showing love to two cool dudes. Keep up the great work, John and Jeff. Thank you, Andrew. Pussy O'Connell, hello, says, any news on Man Heat's prequels? I think we covered that already. Thank you, bud. I am 2FlyCam says, hey, fellas, do you have any more sneak peeks on Star Wars movie news this next week? Also, I honestly think Kathleen Kennedy needs to leave based on her mismanagement of Star Wars. Also, John, you're crazy if you think Flash will cross over at $800 million at the box office. Jeff, I've gone out on a limb, and I've said that Flash will make $2 billion. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. I'm sure you probably think I'm crazy. But what's your prediction for Flash box office? And do you have any new Star Wars news considering what you released last week?
I don't think I have any more Star Wars news.
Okay.
Don't believe so. What was the other thing?
Do you think Kathleen Kennedy is leaving, or should leave, rather? Do you think she's been mismanaged Star Wars?
I think there's no question that she's mismanaged it. But like I said, let's see what she announces next week and how the reaction goes over to that. And, maybe this stuff is the answer. I don't know. But, she deserves one more at bat.
Fair enough. Aisha saying, refraining from speaking my thoughts on Jonathan Majors' issue until all the evidence is released, especially the video. I agree, Aisha. We're speculating on the text. We didn't say this proves he's guilty. We're saying it doesn't look good. So that's the difference there.
We don't have the luxury of refraining from speaking our thoughts.
It's the hot mic.
This is the name of the game.
Fantastic says, hey guys, just wanted to ask Jeff if there was any type of movement on a potential Zorro team up. I'd watch that. Are you hearing anything about Zorro, Jeff?
I think Zorro personally is just like totally cooked.
Not going to happen.
I'm pretty bored of the Zorro mythos. It would need a total reinvention. Zorro in space or female Zorro. I don't know, man. But
Zorro in space?
I don't know, dude.
Didn't they try that already with Sean Connery? What's the name of that movie? I think they tried that already. Okay. Well, I wanted to ask you, Jeff, the Mike Flanagan news here, Clayface. What interesting stuff. Mike Flanagan, known for Dr. Sleep, known for a number of these Netflix shows that are horror based that he has done. The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, at Midnight Mass. So there is speculation on a deadline that he has pitched a feature version of Clayface over at the studio over at WB. So what do you think? Do you like this idea? It's a DC supervillain, but he says he's
a guy and he's got a face made of clay. Okay,
whole body. Yeah, but yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not terribly familiar with Clayface in the comics. I have to let all due respect to Richard Newby because I'm a fan of Richard Newby.
Yeah, Richard's great.
He tweeted, "This is a dream role for some actor." Like, what little boy is like reading these? Dude, I wish I could. One day, I'm gonna be Clayface in the Batman universe. Who are these characters?
I like Richard as well, but he's crazy if he thinks it's a dream role to play Clayface, for God's sake. So, yeah.
Sure.
And there have been multiple iterations, but do you think like this kind of has a little bit the Swamp Thing connection? Like, do you think this is what's happening now, that they're going to be these ideas for these villains that are going to be treated as anti-heroes?
These weird James Gunn ideas for movies. I mean, it sounds like Clayface is part of the Batman too, isn't that sort of?
Yes. Yeah, they're saying that he'll be part of the Batman too. Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if we necessarily need like the Elseworlds, Clayface, and then Clayface in the DCU. Like, I feel like one Clayface will suffice. That's sort of the problem. Is there's a lot of like Batman and Joker stuff. There's a lot of the same characters. So I think they'd have to sort of differentiate it. My source did have a theory.
Ooh.
And this is one of the luxuries of being a source. So this is not something that they've necessarily heard. This is just something that they believe. And the source, they've done enough for the show that they've deserved some airtime for this.
Okay.
But hold on, let me bring it up here. They think that, remember when James Gunn met with the press, he mentioned a secret project.
Yes.
Okay. No one knows what this project is. My theory is that the secret project is a Justice League project.
Yeah.
Based on the New Frontier.
Oh, shit.
In which they face off against a giant island known as the Center, which is a primordial entity trying to end all life on Earth. This source thinks that James Gunn plans to introduce this concept in Lanterns, and they think that Andy Muschietti could end up directing it.
Wow.
This is all just a theory. But it was compelling nonetheless. I felt like it was worth sharing.
I like that idea, to be honest with you.
And if James Gunn mentioned, I have another project up my sleeve that we're not announcing here today, the press say, he absolutely knows what it is, right?
Yeah.
Knows what it is. So he thinks there have just been clues along the way that it could be a new French movie.
Let me hit you with two more DC stuff. Let's stay in DC real quick. Did you like the Lady Gaga pictures of her on the court steps with the cops and the video of that? What'd you think of the look of that?
Sure. I mean, I love Joker. I can't wait to see Joker 2, but like I'm not trying to judge a movie off of like a behind the scenes photo.
I also think too many people are kind of holding on to the fact that it's a musical and think it's going to be like fucking Busby Berkeley. That's got nothing to do with it. It's all in his mind. Just like his relationship with Zazie Beetz was all in his mind in the first movie. This whole musical stuff is going to be all in his mind. So it's going to be maniacal. It's going to be insane. It's going to be stuff we've never seen. And I think it's going to blow the doors off people's minds when we see it. So let go of the shit. Do you think it's going to be a fucking Gene Kelly film, for God's sake?
Right. Well, a musical is more than just the songs that they're singing, right? It's a certain approach to everything. And I think that is maybe where it will mirror a musical, less so in traditional songs. Good
point. All right. And then the Jason Momoa comments here about Aquaman 2. He said that he wrote a 55-page treatment. Jeff, I've spoken to a couple of executives. One of them, my co-host on the Geek Buddies, Michael Vogel, says, I've never received, nor would I want to receive, a 55-page treatment. Did he misspeak, or did he not understand what a treatment is? Or was this true, and is this madness?
Who about what? A 55-page treatment for what?
Jason Momoa said he wrote a 55-page treatment for Aquaman 2, and it had to do with Aquaman going to the UN to make them aware of climate change and that the polar ice caps are melting.
Why did he do this? Was this just like an exercise to get to know? I mean, obviously he wasn't going to write Aquaman 2, so I don't even understand what we're talking about.
Maybe he thought he was, but 55-page treatment,
just like Ezra Miller was writing The Flash. That's probably what they do.
Yeah, with Jeff Johns.
Right. They're just like, you know what, Ezra, if you don't like the script that we're doing, why don't you write your own, and we'll meet back up in 6 months and see who's better. Maybe they just said that to Jason too. I don't know.
Maybe they humored him and flipped. Maybe they like laughed at it as they're flipping through it. John Spiliotopoulos says, "Hey, brother, giving you some money plus my apology over the Red She-Hulk comments. Yes, I hate saying this, but you were correct. Of course, I know everybody hates saying it, but it's true. I'd love to get Richard on. We'd love to get Richard on here. We don't follow each other on Twitter, Richard, but I'd love to get Richard Newby on here.
We're both fans of Richard Newby. The only all I'm saying is that the idea that Clayface was a dream role for someone. Those are some odd dreams that person is having.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see here. Is there any more? Aisha says, Rocha, I got nothing but love for you and Jeff. Thank you, Aisha. We do too. We love seeing you and always appreciate your point of view.
How about that Pattinson project from last week? Last week we went on the show. We talked about Adam McKay having a tough time setting up his next project, that everybody was sort of passing on it.
Yeah.
It was unsellable or whatever. And then right after that, we got the whole cast and the log line and everything.
Yes, we did.
Again, that's what it takes sometimes. It's someone in my position who doesn't have 100% of the story. And I realize, Jeff Sneider has that reputation. Oh, he can't get 100% of the story. Well, you know what? Come down to where the fuck I am and try and get 100% of the story.
Yeah.
We took the tree. We see what fell out. And boom, all these trades were holding all this news, Yeah. This is what I'm getting at with this whole fucking podcast. It was Pattinson, it was Amy Adams, right?
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr., and it's about a serial killer who enlists a lobbyist, who I think was Amy Adams, to go to DC to try to make the laws easier for him to kill. And Downey Jr. would be like a cop trying to put him away. I mean, it sounds fascinating, but it also sounds expensive when you're talking about Pattinson, Downey Jr., Amy Adams, right? That's a lot already in salary. Netflix would have to pay upfront, right? They'd have to buy out the back end. Before you know it, instead of making a rom-com with Michael Fassbender and Scarlett Johansson and Nancy Meyers, which Netflix turned down, at least people I know will watch that.
Yeah.
Dark comedy about a serial killer trying to change the law, as interesting as I find that, I don't know that there's a massive audience for that, even with Robert Pattinson in it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. It's not like his films have blown up at the box office.
Dark comedy's tough. Dark comedy is notoriously tough.
Yeah, very, very true. What was that? We got some Streamlabs came through here. Kaiser Dewey, I hope I'm saying that right, says, man, what has happened to Russell Crowe? That Pope Exorcist film looks terrible, and I feel like he's been saying yes to straight-to-video VOD films and just terrible movies recently. Do you think he'll ever be back doing big films, or is it all downhill from here?
I need to see these. I'm a visual learner. What are we talking about?
You haven't seen Russell Crowe's new trailer for the film The Pope's Exorcist?
Do I think what about him?
Is he done? Is it over? Is he heading downhill from here? Will he ever come back to A-list status?
Yes. I mean, the cream rises to the top, baby. Yeah. Russell Crowe was always going to be a great actor, I think. It's just about finding the right role. Yeah. It's, you're telling me Liam Neeson reinvented himself, right? Taken.
Yeah, 100%.
You're telling me that fucking Russell Crowe can't have that sort of resurgence 5-10 years from now? He got a little big. He got a little hefty. He might have to slim down.
Yeah.
But I think that he has a certain magnetism that they ain't manufacturing more of that shit these days.
No, not anymore. No. Hey, look, he was funny in Thor: Love and Thunder, I thought. And he's going to be in Craven with Aaron Taylor Johnson. So he's just doing these other things. Actors have bills to pay. And surely alimony is a thing that makes you do multiple movies. This is the game. They met his quota. He probably worked 2 weeks and rolled on out of there and made his money.
Look at Cage.
Yeah. Right.
Cage has had a huge resurgence. I think Russell Crowe, obviously, I know he has some bad behavior in his past that maybe he has to contend with, but to me, he's one of the greats. And this movie, I may not want to see it, but I think it'll probably deliver for genre fans who go to see that movie. I think they'll probably leave satisfied.
I was curious. I'm curious. I wasn't curious about the Road Rage movie.
It was good. Did you not see that?
I did not see that one. Is it good?
Yeah, it is. That is real. That is a fucking crazy movie.
Shit. All right, maybe I will. Let's take a quick break, Jeff, because we're at the half-hour mark on this for the ads. So we'll be right back right after this. All right, I have to do that for the podcast, people. So, all right, what else we got here, Jeff?
Just a little bit. I mean, I heard that, there's been a lot of questions like, what's going on with Argyle, the Matthew Vaughn movie with Henry Cavill?
Yeah. Right.
Like, we saw photos from that a while ago, but it's been very, very quiet as far as Apple's plans for that. We've heard a lot about Killers of the Flower Moon and other stuff, Napoleon. What I've heard about Argyle is that there's some funky choices in Argyle that Apple is uneasy about, and they're not quite sure how to market it. They're worried that it might be a little bit too smart for its own good, which intrigues me as a movie fan. Like, maybe Matthew Vaughn has really delivered something a bit different and outside the box here.
Sure.
I mean, Apple has a great marketing team, so if they don't know how to market it, like, must be something really weird with it.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff was just like all the Ari Aster rumors. With him, with Beau is Afraid coming out, and that's, speaking of movies that are tough to market. That sounds like another one, much, like someone had mentioned it, like Under the Silver Lake, that Andrew Garfield movie. Yeah. They're like, Beau is Afraid is just like this. Like, they don't know how to sell it. There's no easy way to sell this movie. It's just unsellable. It's fucking weird. It's not like Ari Aster's other movies. Yeah. There have been rumors about his next project. He's been talking about a Western, which, if you go back through Ari Aster's interviews over the last decade and stuff, is a project titled Eddington.
Okay.
But then there's, I think it was World of Real that dropped this story that he's trying to put together something called Acting Camp, I think, or acting class or something like that, with Emma Stone and Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, interesting.
So it sounds like Joaquin wants to work with him again, whether it's on the Western or on this project with Emma Stone. But I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to Being Afraid, even if it turns out to be a fucking weird movie that makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm down with it. Absolutely. Garth Hart McMurray sent in a couple ones here. He says DC went forward with the Flash movie despite Ezra Miller's criminal activities because the movie was so well received. If things go bad for Jonathan Majors, do you think Marvel might keep him as Kang anyways with all their plans, or will they recast Kang? Oh, I think they would recast if things go bad for Jonathan, because
he's convicted of, like, you can do a lot in this industry, but if you're like convicted of beating on a woman, I think you got to go.
Yeah, for a while, and then you got to do like counseling and therapy and show you've really changed, and then Hollywood is probably going to open its doors.
It's not that these people can't be redeemed. There's a lot of people who I think have been involved in those kinds of situations in the past. It's not good. I hope that here's the thing I'll say about this whole situation. Yeah, it's gonna sound really cynical on my part.
Okay, that's not new for you. Go ahead. Yes,
but like the unspoken thing amongst all these stars, and I imagine him as much time as this guy has spent in the gym.
Yeah,
all these guys are on steroids.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
You don't think so, John? When you see Jake Gyllenhaal like in fucking UFC, like, and he's cut like that, these guys they take incredible care of their bodies. They eat, they have dietitians, they have everything. But you don't think that they get a little juice on the side?
I think it's dangerous to do that, so I'm surprised if people do it, because we see all kinds of evidence of how it affects athletes who do it, and if you're doing it later in life for a concentrated amount of time, it can really fuck you up even more.
It's not like an athlete uses it where like the athlete has to get ready for the season and use it throughout the season. I feel like these swim shoots are shorter, and you're not doing it for every movie either, unless you're like a Schwarzenegger, Jean-Claude Van, like where your whole career rests on your physique. But I think that in order to go from one movie to the next, and this movie you got to be jacked, I think that these guys do use steroids. And just looking at the timeline, Jonathan Majors is big in Creed 3.
He is massive.
He's huge in Magazine Dreams. He's a bodybuilder. She's got to get more weight on him there. And so I'm just saying, is it possible that Jonathan Majors has been using steroids on these two movies in which he looks jacked beyond and could that have played a role in it, some sort of steroid rage?
That's listen, and again, not to excuse it, but looking at all the factors, that is certainly a possibility, because we do know when people go on roids, the term roid rage is a real thing. People, it's not that people don't already have that within them to be angry. It's that the roids make them like go way past the line or further past than they normally would because of all the stuff that's raging and they can't stop themselves in the moment. So is it possible that that's what happened here? I don't think you can rule it out. If
That's
he's
how
been
it read
using
to me.
I
When
don't
I
think you can rule it out.
first saw the headline, Jonathan Majors arrested and domestic thing, I was like,
Yeah.
it's got to be Roids. Like,
Swim.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, that is pure speculation. Pure speculation.
And those of us who are sports guys, we know. Garth says, Garth has another one. I hope that Joker 2 will be similar to the Dancer in the Dark movie starring Bjork with the delusional mind imagining a musical world and cuts back to the harsh real world.
Yeah.
That's something I would love to see Bjork as like a villain in a Batman movie, man. I think Bjork would be really interesting as a villain in a Batman movie. Bring her back, for God's sakes.
Bjork should have played Enchantress in Suicide Squad.
Should have been better than Cara Delevingne, let me tell you that right now. The illusion we're all under that she can act is hilarious to me. She may be a very sweet person, certainly has a lot of Hollywood friends, but very, very limited as an actress, for God's sakes.
Johnny, I should wrap this up and get back to work. But do we have any more to answer?
No more Streamlabs or Super Chats, but I want to ask you this. Did you get the chance to see Murder Mystery 2?
I watched half of it last night, actually. I watched about an hour of it. I don't recall laughing.
What? Oh, I think it's way better than the first one. I highly recommend it. It comes out on Netflix this weekend. You all have to see it. It's better than the first one. I trudged through the first one 2 days ago, and it was not that good. I went to see the second one. I had a great time. It's a lot of fun. If you guys are looking for a film to kind of turn your brain off and have some fun with the comedy, then watch Murder Mystery 2. But I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Jennifer Aniston had comments about comedy, and she was saying that she thinks Friends would not work today and that people get offended by it and uselessly offended by it. And certainly Lisa Kudrow tried to defend Marta Kaufman a little bit by saying, well, these
what is this new? That we've been having this conversation for years, and audiences are too sensitive and they can't stand being offended. Like, it's crazy to me. Friends was pretty inoffensive. I'm sure that there are people who will take offense to it. Oh, they made this gay joke. They leaned into this stereotype about so-and-so. But, like, I don't know, guys. We all got to learn to take a fucking joke.
But I think people are taking jokes. I don't think it's a big deal. I'm just throwing that out there. So, all right, Micah says, hey, guys, thoughts on the news that Clint Eastwood is beginning to close in on directing the final film of his career, Warner Brothers. Do you think this could be a box office success like American Sniper or maybe an Oscar contender like Mystic River? Yeah. Jeff, you mentioned a Clint rumor. Are you going to talk about this or no?
Yeah. There are a few other things that we have to discuss before we wrap up. So maybe we'll do another 10, 15 minutes. But okay. All right, Clint Eastwood. I forget who actually broke it. I think was it World of Real or maybe Giant Freaking Robot. But they said that Clint Eastwood's next movie is Juror Number 2.
Okay.
And it's about a guy who gets on a jury, right, for some sort of crime that was committed, right?
Yeah.
And he committed the crime.
Oh shit! That's kind of cool.
And so it's about him. Does he try to sway the jury away from the truth and send an innocent person to jail or whoever is actually on trial?
Yeah.
Or does he come forward and say, this whole trial is a farce. It was me. I'm the fucking guy who did it. Like, does he turn himself in? So I think that the report said that's going to be Nicholas Hoult.
Interesting.
And Toni Collette will also be in it, whether she's playing a prosecutor or a judge or, the defendant's, the whoever's mother. I don't know. But Toni Collette, great actress. Nicholas Hoult, he makes sense for me as a Clint lead.
I like this idea because it could be a commentary on how lawyers and police officers and judges in the court systems can railroad somebody even when they don't have evidence. So it could be a very interesting commentary by Eastwood on a film like this. So yeah, that makes me very, very curious to see this. And anything that takes Toni Collette from doing a sequel to Mafia Mama, I'll be quite happy to.
You see Mafia Mama?
I've seen the trailer. That's enough for me, brother, man. That is more than enough.
Speaking of trailers,
yes.
I didn't watch the full Barry season 4 trailer because I didn't want to be spoiled. But was it good, John?
It's a minute and a half. They gave you nothing. They gave you nothing. So you should watch it. It's just shots of them reacting to certain things. You get a little more with NoHo Hank, but that's about it. And Barry reacting to everything. So
I can't wait for that one. But I did have different reactions to the following 2 trailers. So
okay.
First up is Asteroid City from Wes Anderson. What did you think of that trailer?
Loved it. I'm a Wes Anderson guy. And I'll say this right now. You guys know I talk about race all the time. not all the time, sometimes. I think people come after Wes because I saw Richard Newby also come after Wes. And look, he's making his movies, okay? They're not for much. These actors want to work with him, and they're those kinds of movies, okay? And I think they're fine for what they are. Let them be what they are. So I think he gets too much shit for what he does and not casting enough people of color. I like Wes Anderson's movie as a slice of white, whatever it is. I just white quaintness or that's sort of. So I like this trailer. I think it was good. I'm excited to see it. But I do think Tom Hanks and Scarlett are miscast. That's Bill Murray and someone else in those roles that he can't put in the film.
Well, Steve Carell replaced Bill Murray, not Tom Hanks.
Oh well, either way, he doesn't quite fit in the Wes Anderson world.
I am a Wes Anderson guy as well. I have multiple Wes Anderson pieces over there on that side of the room. Didn't love it. I just like everything. It just break the house style a little bit. I just didn't love the story here. I didn't laugh. Like, where's like the Rushmore-esque trailer joke that's like, oh, these are OR scrubs. Oh, are they?
Yeah, but that's a different movie.
But I need like these movies. I just feel like he's been on autopilot lately. I haven't loved anything since Moonrise Kingdom.
Really?
I'm not a Grand Budapest. I don't love that movie. It was okay.
I love that.
I didn't love it. Isle of Dogs was disappointing, and then French Dispatch I thought was bad. So I really hope for some sort of return to form, but I didn't love the trailer.
Okay, fair enough.
What about Matthew Gardner?
Yeah. Oh man, that looks great. And I don't agree with you. I liked Card Counter. I know you're not the most recent Schrader stuff. You're not a big fan of it. You said that in your tweet, but I liked Card Counter. I've not seen First Reformed, but this trailer looks fucking badass, dude. So I'm down for this.
Guy Lodge is a critic who I definitely respect. He was like, this movie is garbage. Like, I reviewed it for Variety, and I went back and read his Variety review. And I mean, I could see it not being good. I mean, like I said, I haven't loved Schrader's recent stuff really, but I just really like that trailer. And I think Joel Edgerton is just so interesting. Yeah,
I agree. I got to still watch that one you told me to watch on Netflix. I got to watch it at some point.
Yeah. Was it The Stranger?
Yeah, The Stranger.
Is there anything else?
Yeah. Mike McKenzie says, what are your thoughts on Kanye changing his mind on the Jews after seeing Jonah Hill in 21 Jump Street? Maybe Jonah should do more comedies and send them to the Klansmen. So
he played a Klansman.
He played a Klansman. I can't see.
Kanye West. I wish that other people were so easily swayed. We could just end all hate with 21 Jump Street. Listen, he's got good taste in movies. 21 Jonah Hill, we're gonna elect you as president of the Jews.
Just no sequel to 4 years, whatever it was.
The true president of the Jews announced his retirement. It sounded like this week. This is where we should end the show, John.
Okay, go ahead, man.
This is on Larry David.
That's what is happening? He's not going to do another season of Curb.
Yeah, someone went on Twitter, one of his producers, or someone involved in Curb, and they said, we just shot the last scene of the last episode of everything. So it sounds like they're going to wind it down. Maybe they'll give Larry some finality. I mean, oddly enough, I feel like he also deserves to die, like a Tony Soprano, Walter White-esque death. Like, this guy's just done so much horrible shit he needs to pay for. But and it's a comedy. I love LD. I love Curb. I can't wait for this new season. But if it is the last, hey, at least it was a hell of a run.
I don't know if anyone else feels this way, but if you want, to me, Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm has always been John Rocha with an extra. Like, if he could get away, John Rocha with money is Larry David. 1,000,000%. I have pulled. I mean, I would totally try to take the golf club out of the dead guy's hand in the coffin. Like, why are you burying him with my golf club? There are just so many things in Curb that I feel connected to as an honorary Jewish person, which I've been dubbed by a number of people. So I absolutely love Larry David. It's sad that it's going to be ending in all of this. And for our older people who watch the show, RIP to Mark Russell, who died at 90 years old. I grew up watching Mark Russell on PBS. Great satirist, political satirist, and humorist. Him and the piano there always was appointment viewing watching for me and my family. And so sad to see him passing at 90 years old, but hey, 90 is good. Yes, boy says, gentlemen, off topic, but I'm attending my first stadium event this weekend for WrestleMania. Any advice other than arriving early? Yeah, wear a fucking mask, because there's no way all those people are fucking jabbed, and there's no way they don't give a shit about going to see WrestleMania with COVID. So I'm telling you right now, wear a fucking mask, put gloves on, don't get COVID, for God's sakes. What would you be your advice going to SoFi Stadium here, Jeff?
I don't have any. WrestleMania. Have fun.
Yeah.
The Tarantino thing, he did come out and say, and he confirmed this week, though, that The Movie Critic is the title of his next movie. He said it's not about Pauline Kael, though. Yeah. And Boris went on Twitter and addressed that. And just to be clear, Boris doesn't owe anybody an apology. He didn't say it was about Pauline Kael. That's the internet misreading it and running with it. And he just mentioned that was a possibility, but he didn't say that was about her. And so, Boris, I appreciated the distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, there we go. Let's wrap it up, because I know Jeff's got to get going with all kinds of things going on. So do I.
I got to edit pieces. I got to edit. We have a piece on Hello Tomorrow going up, which is the new Apple series. And then what's the ATL thing today? I don't even know.
Any news on that interview you pitched me for? Any news?
No, I haven't gotten approved yet. No. No, it's the for on Above the Line today.
Yes.
We are doing an interview with the Party Down creator, John Enbaum. That's the piece I'm editing this afternoon.
Nice. All right, we're wrapping up here. So 550 of you. We had up to 600. So thank you all for joining us live. Thanks for an awesome, lively chat. Thanks for the Streamlabs super chats. Please, if you're checking out the show for the first time, subscribe to the channel down below so you can be notified when the show is going live. We had to change it to noon today for scheduling stuff. So sometimes it'll do that. Usually we're at 4 p.m., but we had to go to noon the last couple of weeks. But the best way you can know about it is to hit that subscribe button, hit the bell button so you see when we're dropping it. Hit a like on this video, leave a comment. A lot of you do after the show. Please keep it respectful. And Jeff, thanks. Another fun show. Where can they find you? Everything going on, brother?
AboveTheLine.com.
We're almost done. Focus.
BTLnews.com and LAMag.com, where I should have hopefully some reviews of these streaming movies, including Murder Mystery 2, Tetris. I know.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that tonight. I see Air tonight. Very excited to see
Nice.
Air. A quick note on our sponsor, though. I did want to say.
Yes.
So Above the Line, guys. Johnny and I are very expensive. We're top podcasters now. We demand top dollar. So Above the Line, we're gonna pause the sponsorship that they've been so generously doing these last few months. We truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Above the Line.
What we're gonna do is we're putting together a survey. Okay, so let us put together this survey for you and figure out what you guys. We want to figure out who is watching the show and what you guys want from us. Why do you exactly tune in? We'll eventually share that URL with you where you can go and answer this survey. And then maybe Above the Line will sponsor episodes later this summer or whatever. But for the next 2 months, I think April and May, we're going to fly without a sponsor, unless one of you beautiful people want to discuss sponsorship opportunities with us. John can create a very nice skin for you, like it says, like here, like that you're watching. Whatever it is, maybe it's a local business, but clearly this episode does get trending usually when I have a good tip.
Yeah.
So, just keep it in the back of your minds. Thanks
for way to promote yourselves and promote whatever you got going on. If you want to come and sponsor us for a little bit, we'd love to. We can, as I said, my boy Tushka can absolutely put graphics up there to promote. Well, I don't want to become NASCAR, but certainly we can put a couple of graphics up there or 3 graphics up there to promote the companies that are supporting us and providing for us. So we appreciate that. So look out for that. DM either one of us and we'll make it happen if you want to sponsor the show for sure. All right. Thank you all so much. As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. My other podcast is Cinephiles, The Geek Buddies. This is also available in podcast format. If you want to re-listen to anything, subscribe to the Hot Mic wherever you download podcasts. Leave a review, leave a star rating there. Give us some love. The more you subscribe, the more we can keep growing the channel and keep growing the possibility of more revenue down the road for sure. So go and do that. And as for me this weekend, I got a Picard review coming up tomorrow. And I will be doing live watch-alongs for night 1 and night 2 of WrestleMania. I got permission from my girlfriend. Her birthday is Saturday. She's allowing me to do these watch-alongs because we're going out on Friday night, celebrate her birthday. So come and join me for those WrestleMania watch-alongs on this channel, not on the Strong Style channel, on this channel. We're going to have a lot of fun. All right, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here of the Hot Mic. Peace.